Chosen one, why do you feel like something's been hidden from you your entire life? Why does it seem like everyone else got the manual but you got the mystery? Why have you been walking through doors that lock behind you, climbing mountains no one else can see, carrying a weight so holy it's almost unbearable, and yet no one around you understands? Chosen ones, God can't keep this secret from you anymore. Not because he wants to reveal it, but because it's already breaking open. Right now, while you're listening to these words, the veil is tearing, the dam of heaven is cracking under supernatural pressure, and what's about to flood into your life will rewrite everything you thought was over. You didn't find this message by accident. Heaven intercepted you. You've been searching for answers in the dead of night, scrolling, praying, crying in rooms where no one knocks anymore. You've whispered questions into the void. God, do you even see me? Did you forget my name? But here's the shocking truth they don't tell you in church. God hasn't been silent. You've been in a holding pattern. And holding patterns aren't punishment, they're preparation. Because what God is about to release into your life is so massive, so disruptive, so anointed, that if it came any sooner, it would have destroyed you. You weren't ready for the weight of your own calling, but you are now. Listen, something shifted in the heavenlies 72 hours ago. Angels that have been stationed around your life for years just received new orders. Doors that were welded shut are beginning to groan open. People who wrote you off are about to feel a tremor in their spirit when your name is mentioned. This isn't hype. This is a summons. If your spirit is already trembling with recognition, if something inside you just woke up while I was speaking, comment 777 right now. That's not superstition. That's agreement. It's you saying to heaven, I'm ready. I receive what's coming. Now, before we go any further, I want to say thank you. Thank you to every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling, who are one video away from breakthrough. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention. It all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead. Because here's what's about to happen. God is about to turn your hidden years into holy headlines. Your wilderness, it's about to become your witness. And the secret heaven's been keeping, it has your name written all over it. Stay with me. Do you know what it feels like to pray so hard your throat burns and hear nothing back? Do you know what it's like to watch everyone around you get their answer while you're still standing in the same spot you were 5 years ago? Have you ever wondered if God just forgot? Let me tell you something that's going to shake the foundation of everything you thought you knew about waiting. The wait wasn't punishment, it was protection. And the secret God's been keeping from you, it wasn't to withhold, it was to withhold until the right moment. Because what he's about to release into your life is so powerful, so disruptive, so anointed, that if it came any sooner, it would have crushed you under its weight. You thought he forgot your name when the phone stopped ringing. When the house got so quiet you could hear your own heartbeat echoing off the walls. When the doctor shook his head and said, "There's nothing more we can do." When your children stopped calling. When your bank account flatlined. When you stood at the grave of someone you thought would be there forever. You thought God was silent. But he wasn't ignoring you. He was engineering you. Listen to me carefully. Psalm 37:4 says, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart." Not if you delight, not when you're perfect, but as you delight even in the waiting, he's working, even when you can't see it, even when it feels like betrayal. Isaiah 41:9 declares, "I took you from the ends of the earth, from its farthest corners I called you. I said, you are my servant, I have chosen you, and have not rejected you." Did you hear that? Have not rejected you. Past tense, present tense, future tense. You were never forgotten. You were being forged. Because here's the truth, they don't preach on Sunday morning. God delays blessings not to deny you, but to prepare the vessel for overflow. Think of it like a river behind a dam. For years, decades even, the water builds, pressure mounts. It looks like nothing's happening. People walk by and say, "That dam's been there forever. Nothing's ever going to change." But behind that concrete wall, power is accumulating, force is gathering, and when the floodgates finally open, it doesn't trickle, it doesn't seep, it floods. That's what's happening in your life right now. Heaven had to mature your faith before it could release your favor. Because the blessing that's coming isn't a promotion, it's a platform. It's not a raise, it's a repositioning. It's not comfort, it's a commission. And you had to be strong enough to carry it without losing yourself in it. You've been in a holding pattern, but holding patterns aren't delays, they're divine setups. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Notice, it doesn't say a plan. It says plans plural, layers, levels, dimensions of destiny you haven't even glimpsed yet. And every closed door, every no, every betrayal, every loss, it was all clearing the path for what's about to break open. But here's where it gets supernatural. Something shifted in the heavenlies 72 hours ago. I'm not speaking metaphorically. I'm telling you that angelic orders were reissued, demonic assignments were revoked. Doors that were sealed with supernatural cement are beginning to crack. And the people who counted you out, they're about to feel a tremor in their spirit every time your name crosses their mind. Because God is about to do something so undeniable, so unmistakable, that even your enemies will have to admit, God is with that person. You've been hidden, but you were never forgotten. You've been silent, but you were never silenced. You've been alone, but you were never abandoned. Heaven has been watching, recording, remembering. Every tear you cried in the car before you walked into work with a smile. Every time you praised Him when your body was screaming in pain. Every moment you chose faith over fear, worship over worry, trust over trauma. God saw it all, and He's about to reward it publicly. Right now, if something inside you is burning, if your spirit just woke up like it's been asleep for years, type, "I'm ready for release" in the comments. Don't just read this, declare it. Because as you write those words, heaven records them, angels move, atmospheres shift. You're not just commenting, you're cooperating with what God is already doing. The wait is almost over. But the question is, are you ready for what comes next? Because what God is about to release isn't just a blessing, it's a flood. You know what breaks my heart? It's watching chosen ones, people like you, look back on their lives and call the most sacred seasons wasted years. You call them delays. God calls them design. You see a gap in your story. Heaven sees the foundation being poured. Listen to me carefully. You weren't buried. You were planted. And there's a difference. Buried things decay. Planted things rise. The soil of your silence wasn't punishment, it was preparation. It grew roots so deep, so resilient, that when your moment comes, no storm will be able to knock you down. But I know what you're thinking. If God was preparing me, why did it hurt so much? Why did I have to lose so much? Why did everyone else seem to advance while I stayed hidden? Let me show you something that will change how you see your entire life. Joseph didn't accidentally end up in prison for 13 years. That wasn't a detour, that was training ground. Pharaoh's palace required a man who knew how to steward power without corrupting under pressure. You can't learn that in a classroom. You learn that in a cell, alone, forgotten, faithful. When Joseph finally stood before Pharaoh, he wasn't nervous, he was ready. Because the prison didn't break him, it built him. Moses wasn't too old at 80. He was finally empty enough. At 40, he had Egyptian confidence, but heaven needed him stripped of self-reliance before he could carry the glory. 40 years in a desert watching sheep wasn't Moses missing his calling. It was Moses becoming the calling. When God showed up in that burning bush, Moses wasn't the same man who fled Egypt. He was humbled, hollowed out, hungry for purpose, and that's exactly what heaven needed. And then there's Anna, 84 years old, a widow, no social media platform, no megachurch, just her, the temple, and decades of prayers no one heard. The world would have called her irrelevant, but heaven called her faithful. And when the Messiah walked through those temple doors as a baby, guess who was there? Not the priests, not the scholars. Anna. She got to hold eternity in her arms because she refused to leave her post. Her waiting wasn't wasted, it was worship. David spent years in caves, anointed as king but living like a fugitive, running from Saul, hiding in the wilderness, writing psalms that would carry billions through their darkest nights. He could have grown bitter. He could have said, "God, you promised me a throne, why am I in a cave?" But David understood something most people miss. The cave wasn't keeping him from the crown, the cave was shaping him for it. You see, God doesn't just care about your calling, He cares about your character. And character isn't built on stages, it's forged in secret. In the waiting rooms of your life, in the nights when no one's watching, in the seasons when it feels like heaven went silent. But what if heaven wasn't silent? What if heaven was just working? What if the very delays you cursed were actually the fingerprints of your destiny being carefully, intentionally, lovingly crafted? Because here's the truth, they don't preach enough. The world calls it delay. Heaven calls it design. You haven't missed your moment. You are the moment heaven's been waiting to unveil. Every closed door wasn't rejection, it was redirection. Every person who walked away wasn't loss, it was protection. Every year you spent in obscurity wasn't you. Falling behind it was heaven setting you apart. Think about it. If you had gotten what you wanted 5 years ago, would you have been ready for it? Would you have had the wisdom to sustain it, the humility to steward it, the strength to protect it? Or would it have crushed you? God withholds what would harm us and releases what will honor us. And chosen one, your season of release is here, not because you figured it all out, not because you finally became perfect, but because you endured. You stayed faithful in the fire. You kept praying when it seemed pointless. You kept believing when the evidence screamed otherwise. And heaven noticed. Every tear you cried in secret, bottled. Every prayer you whispered in desperation, recorded. Every sacrifice you made that no one saw, rewarded. You think you've been waiting on God, but chosen one, God's been waiting on you, waiting for you to be strong enough, grounded enough, desperate enough, empty enough of yourself, and full enough of Him. And now you're ready. The wilderness didn't disqualify you, it credentialed you. You've been authorized by adversity, certified by suffering, ordained by obscurity. And what's about to break open in your life will silence every voice that said you were finished. So let me ask you something. Are you still going to call it delay? Or are you ready to see it for what it really was, divine design? If that resonates with you, if something just shifted in your spirit, say it out loud right now, wherever you are. I'm not behind schedule, I'm right on time. Let your walls hear it, let heaven hear it, let hell hear it. Because chosen one, you're not coming out of this season the same way you went in. You're coming out stronger, wiser, anointed, appointed, and absolutely unstoppable. Now here's what you need to understand about what happens next. You want to know what's coming? Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a dam, massive, ancient, holding back decades of accumulated blessing. For years you've heard the pressure building behind it, the concrete groaning, the structure straining. Everyone around you living downstream, enjoying their little streams and puddles, while you've been stationed right at the base of this dam, feeling the vibration, hearing the roar, but seeing nothing break through. Until now. Because what's about to happen isn't a trickle, it's not a slow release, it's a flood. And floods don't ask permission, they rewrite landscapes. The secret God couldn't keep anymore is this. Your release date has been set. Heaven's calendar just flipped to your chapter. The angels assigned to your breakthrough just received their marching orders, and what they're carrying has your name stamped on it in blood-red authority. Let me be specific, because generalities won't cut it anymore. Financial restoration is coming. I'm talking about checks showing up in your mailbox that you didn't expect. Debts that have choked you for years, suddenly forgiven, erased, dissolved by divine intervention. Money that was stolen from you through betrayal, through systems, through delays, is about to be restored with interest. Deuteronomy 28:2 says, "All these blessings will come on you and accompany you if you obey the Lord your God." Accompany. That means they'll chase you down. You won't have to beg. You won't have to scheme. The blessing will hunt you. But it's not just money. Health restoration is breaking loose. You've been tired, bone tired. The kind of exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix. Your body's been holding the weight of spiritual warfare, and it's taken a toll. But God is about to restore the years the locusts have eaten. Joel 2:25 isn't just poetry, it's prophecy. You're about to feel a surge of vitality that defies your age, your diagnosis, your doctor's report. Remember Sarah? She laughed when God promised her a child at 90. But her body didn't just conceive, it was renewed. Caleb at 85 said, "Give me this mountain," not because he was foolish, but because God's strength was coursing through him. That same resurrection power is about to flood your physical body. And here's where it gets personal. Relationship redemption is on the table. People who walked away from you, family, friends, business partners, they're about to see something on you they can't ignore. It's not that you need them back. It's that God is about to make your enemies your footstool. Psalm 23 says, "He prepares a table for you in the presence of your enemies." Not hidden away, not in secret, right in front of the people who doubted you, mocked you, abandoned you. They're going to watch you eat. They're going to see the oil of anointing dripping from your head, and some of them will repent, some will return. Not all, but the ones God sends back will be transformed. But let me hit you with the climax, because this is where it gets dangerous. This isn't just blessing, it's a divine transfer. What was withheld from you wasn't withheld to punish you, it was withheld to concentrate. Like a river dammed up before a hydroelectric plant, the pressure was building so that when it's released, it generates power. You're not just going to receive, you're going to become a conduit. The secret heaven couldn't keep is that you are the vessel of its release. The overflow coming into your life isn't meant to stop with you. It's meant to flood through you into territories that have been dry for generations. Isaiah 60:1 says, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." Not in you, upon you. That means it's visible, external, undeniable. The world is about to see what God does when he vindicates his chosen. Now listen carefully. If you feel the tremor of this word in your spirit right now, if something inside you just stood at attention, I need you to do something. Hit that like button. I know it sounds small, but it's a prophetic act. It's like Elisha telling the king to strike the ground with arrows. The king struck 3 times and stopped, and Elisha got angry because his hesitation limited the victory. Don't limit what God's about to do by holding back. Strike the ground, hit that button, and write in the comments, "I receive the flood." Say it out loud if you have to. Let heaven hear your agreement, because here's what most people miss. Blessings don't come to the passive, they come to the postured. You have to position yourself in expectation. You have to open your hands. You have to say, "Yes, Lord, I'm ready. I won't shrink back. I won't apologize for what you're about to do through me." The flood is coming. But the question is, are you standing in the right place to receive it? Or are you still hiding in caves of doubt, fear, and false humility? Because what's about to break open demands that you step into the fullness of who God says you are. And that's not easy. It's terrifying. Because once the flood comes, there's no going back to normal. Let me tell you something. The world has been hiding from you your entire life. You are not ordinary. You never were. When God marked you before your first breath, before your mother knew your name, heaven placed a seal on your soul. invisible to men, undeniable to angels. And that mark, it doesn't fade with age. It doesn't expire when you retire. It doesn't disappear when your children grow up and your house gets quiet. It intensifies. Isaiah 43:1 says it like this: I have called you by name. You are mine. Not you were mine. Not you used to be mine. Present tense. Right now, this moment. God is saying your name in the throne room, and every time he does, something shifts in the atmosphere around your life. But here's what happens to most chosen ones. As they get older, they start believing the lie. The lie that says, your time has passed. The lie that whispers, you're too old to matter now. The lie that makes you invisible at family gatherings, forgotten in conversations, overlooked in a world obsessed with youth and noise and speed. And somewhere along the way, you started to agree with it. You look in the mirror and see wrinkles. You count the birthdays. You measure your worth by how often your phone rings or how many people still ask for your advice. And slowly, quietly, you begin to fade into the background of your own life. But listen to me. The world sees wrinkles. Heaven sees wisdom carved in time. The world counts birthdays. Heaven counts victories. The world calls it aging. God calls it activation. You are not too old. You are too seasoned. You are not fading. You are ripening. And what God is about to do with your life in this final chapter will make everything before it look like the warm-up act. You think Moses was young when God called him to deliver a nation. He was 80 years old. 80. Most people at 80 are thinking about retirement homes and early bird specials. Moses was staring down Pharaoh and splitting seas. You think Anna the prophetess was irrelevant when she met baby Jesus. She was 84 years old, widowed for decades, spent her life in a temple, praying, fasting, waiting. And when the Messiah walked through those doors, she was the one who recognized him, not the priests, not the scholars. The elderly widow who everyone overlooked, she saw God in the flesh. Luke 2:36-38 makes it clear. God doesn't retire his prophets, he refines them. Here's what the enemy doesn't want you to know. The older you get, the more dangerous you become to his kingdom. Because you've seen too much to be fooled. You've survived too much to be scared. You've lost too much to care about what people think anymore. And that kind of freedom, that kind of faith that's been tested by fire and heartbreak and betrayal and still says, I trust you, God, that's the most powerful weapon in heaven's arsenal. Romans 8:11 says this: if the spirit of him who raised Jesus from the dead dwells in you, he will also give life to your mortal bodies. Did you catch that? Mortal bodies. The same spirit that resurrected Jesus from a grave is living inside your 70-year-old knees, your 80-year-old heart, your tired, aching mortal body. And that spirit doesn't know how to retire. So why do you still feel that fire in your chest? Why does worship still make you weep? Why do you wake up at 3 a.m. with a burden to pray for people you've never met? Because God's not done with you. He's been preparing you. Every loss you endured, it taught you compassion. Every betrayal you survived, it built discernment. Every year you spent feeling invisible, it was God hiding you like David in the cave, like Elijah by the brook, like Jesus in the wilderness, not to punish you, but to prepare you for the assignment that requires everything you've learned. And that assignment is about to be revealed. The world looks at you and sees someone past their prime. God looks at you and sees someone who finally has the faith, the wisdom, the authority, and the desperation to carry what's coming. You're not in the waiting room anymore. You're in the launching pad. The world sees a senior citizen. Heaven sees a general. The world sees retirement. God sees redeployment. The world sees your last chapter. God sees your finest chapter. And right now, right this second, angels that have been watching over you for decades just received new orders. Doors that were sealed are beginning to crack open. Connections that seemed dead are about to resurrect. Dreams you buried are about to claw their way out of the grave, because the same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead is living in you, and if He can raise the dead, He can raise your purpose, He can raise your passion, He can raise your voice one more time and use it to shake a generation. You are not too old, you are too anointed. You are not forgotten, you are being positioned. You are not fading, you are about to explode into the brightest season of your life. So if you still feel that fire in your chest, if something inside you just woke up and started pounding, whisper it right now. God's not done with me. Say it out loud. Type it below so the enemy sees your declaration written in light. Let hell know you're still here. Let heaven know you're still standing. Let your own spirit know that this story isn't over. Because what God is about to do with your hidden years, your silent prayers, your lonely nights, He's about to turn it all into a testimony so powerful, people half your age will weep when they hear it. And the secret God's been keeping from you, it's this: your greatest work hasn't happened yet. So, let me leave you with this. You are not ordinary. You never were. And everything you've walked through, every lonely night, every unanswered prayer, every moment you felt invisible, it wasn't wasted. It was preparation. God has been writing your story in the shadows, so that when He brings you into the light, no one will be able to deny His hand on your life. Remember this: you are not too old. You are too seasoned. You are not fading. You are ripening. And the secret heaven has been keeping, it has your name written all over it. But here's what I need you to understand. You are not alone in this. Right now there are thousands of people watching this who feel exactly what you feel. They've cried the same tears. They've prayed the same prayers. They've wondered if God still sees them. And the answer is yes, He does. He always has. And He's not done with you yet. So let me ask you this. What if everything you've been waiting for is waiting for you to believe it's still possible? Now, before you go, I want to pray with you, not over you, with you. Like I'm standing right there, my hand on your shoulder, speaking life into every tired, weary place in your soul. Father God, I come before you right now on behalf of every person listening to these words. Lord, they are weary. They are wondering if you still see them. They are questioning if their time has passed. But God, you see them. You know their name. You know the secret prayers they whisper in the dark. And right now, I ask you to meet them where they are. Open the doors that have been shut. Resurrect the dreams that have been buried. Breathe life into their mortal bodies by the same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead. Let them feel your presence so powerfully that they can't deny. You're still moving. Remove every doubt, silence every lie, and remind them that their greatest chapter hasn't been written yet. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. If this message stirred something in your spirit, don't keep it to yourself. Comment below and tell me what God spoke to you. Share your testimony, ask your questions. Let this community pray with you. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who feels forgotten, overlooked, too old to matter, share this video with them. Remind them they are not alone. Remind them God is not done. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel. Hit that notification bell. Because this isn't just content, this is a movement of people who refuse to believe the lie that their time is over. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. That tells me something about you. You're hungry for truth. You're desperate for breakthrough. And that kind of hunger, God always answers it. Now go. Walk in the authority of who you are. Walk in the identity heaven placed on you. And watch what God does next. Your story isn't over. It's just getting started.